And I believe we are live. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for joining. And tonight we have Sophia and William. Um, so say hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
And tonight we are going, like the title says, we're going to be talking about the David Crowley case again, as usual. But we're also going to be talking about some things that we've been finding odd about the Kiely Rodni case. There's some things I know I want to bring out about her autopsy report that the professionals. I am so disappointed in every single so-called professional that has looked at this case. And I mean every single one of them. But we'll save that for a little bit later. Okay, so what's on you guys' mind? Sophia, what do you think about where we are with, like, let's start with David with the Crowley case?
I don't know. I mean, it's guy caught me off guard.
He's innocent.
Yeah, he is innocent. I mean, there's that. I just been writing so much that it's just that's literally what I've been doing is between the Kiely Rodni case and writing the book lab. I've just been into that.
Well, you want to tell everybody and remind them about the book, and so they know what to look forward to?
In January, we hope to be having a book collaboration with Catherine, Greg, Dan, artwork from Will, which I'm excited to see what you come up with, Will. And
lots of stuff.
We're hoping to have that come out. Greg is self-publishing, so right now he's editing all of our chapters. He's actually very good at it, so his writing prompts have been very helpful. And what else? Just, there's some things that I have discovered while writing the chapters, but I don't know if I really want to go into it because it's going into the book. So I'm finding it hard to talk about it.
Yeah, and I see Greg is in the chat. Greg, you're supposed to be on the panel with us.
Yeah, Greg.
It's like, come on, dude.
Come on, hot Greg.
I know.
Your fans are waiting for you. I'm just saying hello to the chat right now. Okay. It's hard to do a couple things at once.
And
so anyway, yeah, just been working on all that stuff. How about you, Catherine? Let's put you in the hot seat.
Well, actually, since I'm the host, I'm going to put William in the hot seat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, William.
Well, I mean, as I was saying earlier, I mean, David, he's been proven innocent countless times over now. We just don't know who did it. It's really what it comes down to. There's still a few things that are still being speculated when it comes to how he was killed. I would say at least parts of it. Time frame, things like that. But it's kind of tricky. But at the same time, it was impossible for him to have done it. It was impossible for Kamel to have committed it, and obviously it was absolutely impossible for Rania to do it. So who did it?
Right. I know, and
at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Catherine. At this point, I really don't think it's important to find out who did it. I think just as focusing on what proves him innocent is more important because, I mean, what are we going to be able to do? We can't do a citizen's arrest.
I know, too bad, boy. I would love to.
I honestly don't even want to deal with the people who did it. So,
well, we either, I mean, it's proven him innocent. I mean, we've done that so many times over that I mean, it's ridiculous. But find out who did it. And I mean, I'm sure most of us have got our own sneaking suspicions on who did it. The people involved, things like that. But it's really finding out what, basically if we're able to get the information to law enforcement, what are they going to be able to do about it? And they still can do something about it. They're just choosing not to. So at that point, it's just hoping that it gets ramped up to something bigger. And then those law enforcement officers that were involved on basically not actually solving the case, something happens to them as well. And I seriously hope something happens to them. This is ridiculous. I'm not saying anything bad, but something like they lose their jobs, for instance. That would be fantastic because they shouldn't be a police officer if they're not going to be able to do their job.
Right. And, for me too, it was like when I was going through that blacklight report and, right there on one of the very first pages, I don't remember if it was like page 2 or 3 or whatever, but when it tells you that the root drive was accessed on January 14th, and David's lying on the floor with Kamel, it's not them. So you're like going, what is it going to take for these police officers to go, okay, yeah, we rushed to judgment because, we took the easy way out. I swear that's what they did. They were lazy. They took the easy way out and just, they decided a scenario. Okay, this is me speculating, okay? And I'm allowed to have an opinion for those who want to disagree. They came in. They didn't want to really do the work. It was going to be too hard to figure out who did it. It was a mess. So they're just like, well, okay, he had to have done it. So they looked for things to fit their scenario. But as the evidence is coming in and the evidence doesn't match up what they're saying, you would think they would backtrack from that, but they didn't. They just like dug their heels in deeper and just went further and further with their thoughts and their ideas.
I think it's pretty accurate. Oh, sorry.
No, personally, I don't think the case is closed anymore.
I don't think it is either.
I'll put that out there. I don't think it's closed. I think that's the actual reason why we're not getting anything else. I went back through, I read that last email that I got from the city attorney in detail because I actually wrote about it. I was looking up certain statutes and everything, and the way that she listed the statutes in order, and I do not believe that this case is closed anymore. I think that it's actually opened.
100%.
From the information that Catherine and I and other people have sent off, I do believe that they have finally done it.
I mean, I think that's pretty accurate. Also, on top of that, just to add to it, I think because people were looking for specific things that were overlooked or weren't really looked into a whole lot or at all in some cases, I think that's kind of spurred, okay, well, wait, these average Joe people, right? These just people just behind their computers and all this, that aren't even here in Minnesota, they're asking for these things. So obviously they picked apart the case better than even the police did. If they're picking apart the case better than the police did, what do they got? Let's follow up these leads, what they're looking at here. And oh, wait, there seems to be some things here, so, I'm sure, that's the thing. I'm also pretty sure that some of our videos at least have been watched by them. I don't know for sure who, but I would hopefully, I'm hoping that's the case, is if it's opened again, which it seems to be. I was going to say the same thing about that letter. It's like, yeah, that does look like it's open. I mean, it kind of says it anyways. But just if the case is open again, this explains everything. Why they're not handing anything out. Why they're going forward with the whole, okay, we're not handing anything out anymore. They're going to just kind of be quiet about this. Why a lot of these guys have also gotten kind of quiet too, I've noticed on social media.
And, their reasoning for why they weren't going to hand out any more information was because if in the future, if a perpetrator is caught, they need that stuff that they have held on to for the case. I mean, she states it right there in the email. And, and like I said, the statutes that she used, it states it in there too. she's using homicide now. She's not using murder suicide. And she's talking about those who either did it or helped those who did it. So they have broadened the scope. They're not just looking for suspects, they're looking for accomplices too.
Right. So much for Ken Mains, right?
Oh yeah.
World's greatest detective, Ken Mains.
Don't get me started on that waste of oxygen.
Right. But the thing I noticed also is like one of the typical people who was making a lot of threats towards people was Sean Wright. No threat since then at all. In fact, he's gone basically radio silent.
He has. And
I don't think it's because he just over the case. Oh, David did it. No. I think it's because there's that other group. I hate to mention them. I really do. But there's that other group and they've gone kind of radio silent on it too, but the thing is, well, you got to look at, well, who are those people connected to? You got Sean Wright. You got a few other people. I'm not going to mention just in case, but the big one, Sean Wright, and he's gone radio silent. These other guys with their weird connections they've gone radio silent, So I think there's something there, and I think they see that. So I think they're kind of just like trying to go and okay, what do we do? Trying to scramble to go and get out of those crosshairs. Good luck.
Yeah, because I find it awfully funny, and this is all public knowledge. I'm not doxing anybody, and I won't say names, but I will say that there are a few of those who have accused David and stabbed David in the back with what they've said since all of this has occurred, and accused him of being, causing, doing domestic violence, hurting his wife and all this other stuff. Well, it seems mighty funny that a few of these people have been arrested for domestic violence charges. David never, ever hurt his wife, ever. And yet now we have a few of these who have quite the record of domestic violence against somebody that they know. And I'm like, hello, ding, ding, ding. A leopard doesn't change its spots. So.
Yeah, we have it twice for one person. Another person was doing it right in front of their children, and, just quite an extensive record, actually. It's just.
So here we have people who were involved with David's life and this project, the Gray State Project, who not only previously had these run-ins with the law, but then when the family was found dead, they had no problem saying that David, how horrible he was for what he did to his wife and his child and blah, 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 blah. But yet since all of this, they both, or two or three of them, now they have even more arrests on their record for domestic violence within the realm of their family. And, if you're looking in the way people are psychologically, if you're someone who's going to be abusing your family and you have anger issues, if you're not getting help, those traits don't go away. And so, we have people who have these traits, who have a history of this behavior, calling and accusing a man who never had those traits or that history of behavior, calling him that. And now all of a sudden, like you were saying, William, it's radio silence on everybody's part. They're all kind of tuck tail and run at the moment.
So one thing I do want to bring up is, I don't know if you saw that in chat, what I just put up there. That's actually from Statista as of October 14th this year. At least that's what the date is on it right here. But when it comes down to murder in the United States, apparently, when it comes to the relationship from victim to offender, it's generally family related or people they knew rather than strangers. So another thing that's kind of against them, because they're people that he knew. And it's obvious they're people they knew, because if this was a stranger, there would have been a struggle. There was no real big struggle, at least that was really in the home. It wasn't a really it wasn't a very obvious struggle, I should say. There, from what I could see, that definitely looks like there was a little bit of a struggle, but it also kind of looks like it was tried to be cleaned up. And like I said, you go back to the statistics. More homicides in the U.S. are committed by people that knew the victim rather than just by strangers.
Unfortunately, I think that's what not only the police ran with on this, but the gray state guys use that as their excuse, and
Right.
why even the news ran with it, because statistically it would say that David did this. And it's like, well, it's a statistic. It's not 100%. If you
Right.
look at that crime scene, you walk in, you should automatically know, wait a minute, there's 3 people here with 4 gunshot wounds to the head. Where's the blood?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how did they get here? And they have an exit wound here, but and you don't have a bullet for 2 of them. And it's just, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's also, speaking on that, there's also the bullet trajectory, which I know there's some people saying that they never really did any bullet trajectory. There was a little bit done. It wasn't really done as, like what a typical bullet trajectory scene would look like with, with string or with some kind of software. They didn't use a whole lot of that. However, if you were to go and try and line David's body up, even with a little bit of movement here and there, he's, not getting up and, moving around like Thriller, we know that. We know a certain somebody thinks apparently they do, but when it comes down to it, you can go and adjust David's body all day. You're not going to line that bullet in the ceiling. You're not going to line that up with David at all. It's literally impossible.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Greg has finally joined us. Hi, Greg.
Hey, buddy.
Hey there. Can everybody hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. Broadcasting live from my mama's basement.
Okay, you want to jump in?
I just wanted to jump in here and thank everybody who has created a fake document for helping us keep this case going. Really appreciate it. If you want to create some more fake documents to add to the list, that would be okay too, because it's definitely helping us. It's working in our favor. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
And for those I'm sorry, for those who haven't, I see a Sandra Turner. I don't recall seeing Sandra in the chat before. So hello, Sandra. So I don't know if Sandra or anybody else has heard about the fake document. Greg, you want to kind of fill them in real quick about that?
Yeah, which one? I guess the one we're talking about.
Go for it.
There was a fake document created by some losers who created this fake document and acted like it was from one Apple Valley police detective to the other. I believe it was to Tommy from Shane kind of thing. So even though detectives rarely will talk about stuff like that or talk like that in a official police document or official police, any correspondence going back and forth, we have in one of the big PDFs, it's either the 488 PDF or the 484 PDF, 484 pages, whichever one it is. And there's a lot of back and forth, and you can see how these detectives talk to each other, how they talk to other people that are involved in this case. You can compare the way that they talk in those email exchanges. You can compare that to this fake document. It's very concerning that somebody would even create a fake document, but it does show how scared they really are of the truth getting out. And the letter that the Apple Valley City attorney sent made it really seem like they weren't going to give us anything more because of this fake document. Almost like, the fake document was going to make things worse, when really it has really helped us. I think that's what I think. So that's why it's a very very important aspect of this case. It's still kind of new. It's still fresh. And like you both said, the case may not be closed because of that document. They may have helped reopen the case in ways that none of us would have ever done because we're not shady people. So, so thanks again. Much appreciated. And this wine is for you.
Oh,
thank you.
Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?
I want want some wine.
And that's just one. Like I said, if there's any other fake documents out there, if people have created any other fake or doctored any photos that may have the gun in it or anything like that, or acting like there's information that is out there that we know isn't, which we've been hearing for years. Well, we know we have the proof that David did it. We just can't share it with you guys. We've been dealing with that for almost 8 years now of that same thing. And no one has been able to produce any evidence that David Crowley is guilty. Nobody is withholding evidence from the police, I don't think, because there is no evidence that David Crowley is guilty. That's why somebody would have to fake these documents. They would have to doctor those documents. And if you go back and trace, according to Tony Floyd, where those documents or where that document came from, and where the image with the gun may have come from, whether the image with the gun is fake or not, to me doesn't, that's a whole nother issue. But if you trace it back and look who that person is, look who these people are, you can totally understand why they would have the motive to create a fake document, first of all. And I can totally understand why the Apple Valley Police and the Apple Valley City may be putting a big spotlight on them. And their best thing to do is to do what the Gray State Goons did right after David died, was to go silent. And if they don't want to go silent, hey, it's fair warning, because doing something like that, creating a fake document, acting like it is coming from one police officer to the other, that's a serious crime. It's a serious crime. And, they should know that there's, it's not going to go unnoticed. It's not going unchallenged. And hopefully the Apple Valley will be able to get to the bottom of that source and any other sources that are similar to it.
Well, just one question on this. Does anybody actually, come to any conclusion as to what that person is going to gain from doing that? Like why they would even want to go and have, to falsify and try to really push that David did it? I don't understand what the gain would be.
Probably multiple reasons, I would say, not just one. One of them would be to make themselves look good, as if they knew something that they really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
To make us look bad, as if we didn't know stuff, as if there was information that we were not getting that was out there. And those are two of the reasons that I can think. I can think of a lot more, but to me, those are the two that really stand out.
I'm talking like bigger picture here, though. Are they just thinking real small picture and just trying to go and defame a Facebook group and a few people, or are they thinking big picture, like actual like fame and money and all that?
I really don't
think
think
any sense.
Yeah, my view is, and I don't know how the ladies of justice feel here, but my view, Catherine, my view is they didn't think that it would go this far. I don't believe that they thought that the Apple Valley City attorney would get an actual affidavit from Detective Shane Klokanos, if I remember correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, yeah, from him, and saying that he did not write this. That's taking it pretty far there. So, yeah.
Well, that's how I see it. I definitely want to hear what Catherine and Sophia have to say on that as well. But the whole thing about doing it, it's like it seems like the guy the person didn't think far enough ahead to realize this would happen. This would be eventual. It's not even, this is going to happen.
And that's typical with that person. Yeah, and that's a trait of that person. It's not the first time they've done something like it. So
right.
Sophia, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that it probably was done out of a narcissism type complex. Number one. Number two, they were probably thinking, like, oh, hey, I'm in touch with the police. I'm on a first name basis with the police. I could pick up the phone. I can get documents. See, look, I have this document. And, oh, but we can't share it in the public. Don't post it in the public. That kind of thing. Only share it, between those that who will keep it between us. This was a way to keep that tight little niche together.
And that's just one that we
And
know about, right?
I know of a couple others that I sent off. So yeah, at least a photo and another kind of document that they're trying to pass off as real. So those were all sent off at the same time.
Yeah, you think they would have learned by now with that?
Well,
First
I'm
one.
pretty sure that they thought that they got away with the first one, and then they just created a few more things. And then once we came out with the whole, email from the city attorney and the affidavit, that's when this person went radio silent.
Smart move.
So, yeah, it was a smart move. So, yep.
I don't know. I personally can't wait until we get actual verification that they're like, okay, we've now opened it and we're going to look at this a little bit better. Although I know it's like in a roundabout way, and she kind of said it in her letter, but for my brain, I want to hear the words. I want, and
Yeah.
because I mean, as you know, anytime I've contacted any of them, I've only received one response out of the multiple times I've contacted any of them. They've always just ignored everything I've requested. So other short of going to court, if I was out there, I would just file court papers and, request the documents, but I can't show up to court because I don't live there. Short of doing that, it's like my hands are kind of tied, but I'm glad that they opened up to you, especially you and Sophia and Greg.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, everything just went really quiet. That's why I was asking.
Oh.
I was answering Deb in the chat room. It's 12 to 15 years if
Were
found
they
guilty.
asking how long if they got
Well,
caught for falsifying?
It's because it's a federal offense and it's 12 to 15 years. So
Well, I guess he'll really get to, or this person will really get to talk to some prisoners then.
True. Right?
Maybe that was the plan. Work their way into the jail system somehow.
it's just making some friends in low places.
Real mail order groom.
Oh man. So is there anything else you guys want to say on the Crowley case, or do you want to go ahead and move on to the Kiely case?
I'm really happy. Really excited about this book. That's pretty much it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, how many people are going to be contributing to the book? Are there 4 of us contributing?
There may be more. There may
Okay.
be more. So
as of now, there's like 4, maybe possibly more. And then you did say that William is going to be doing the cover artwork, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So he's working on that while working on other things too, and yeah, hopefully we can make the deadline. But even if we don't, it'll still be out there. So.
Yeah, I hope so too. And if for those of you who don't know, that David, Kamel, and Rania were found on January 17th, 2015. So we're trying to get the book done and completed so it could be released on the anniversary of their bodies being found. So hopefully, knock on wood, we will get that done.
It should be. It only takes a couple weeks. Once it's done and once we send it off to be printed, it should only take a couple weeks. I mean, it'll be live then as of that day, whenever we go live. But as far as the global distribution, that could take another week or so. So that's why I really want to try to get this done, at least by the end of December, and then to have the final version sent off. Everybody gets a proof copy, and yeah, as long as there's nothing else there, and should be good. and working on the different orders. I'm working on my chapters now. I looked at one chapter I have, and it's about 40 pages, but I'm going to break it up because it's really several different smaller chapters. I feel like the way that my chapters are going to be almost like little blog posts and stuff. So, and if anybody has any quotes, if anybody has any powerful David Crowley quotes that may stand out, we definitely would like to try to collect some of those so we can add that in. Russell, I think this will be a hard copy. I think we're going to skip the paperback. We're going to go directly to a hard copy with this one.
Hardback, not paperback?
Correct. Yep.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, that'll
I
be
like
nice. That's nice.
Yeah. This the place where we're going to do the self-publishing. But the hardcovers look really nice. The way that they make the hardcovers look really nice. And they keep changing things. They keep changing a lot of different things. So this company used to be a lot better, and I don't know what's going on with budget cuts or what it is, but they keep just making it a little more difficult, a little more issues. There's more issues with it, but nothing that we can't figure out. So that's it. That's all I got on that one.
Okay. We can always come back to David later too, but now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move forward to the Kiely Rodni case. And the one thing I want to bring up and, let everybody know, because like I said, I am so disappointed in absolutely every single so-called professional who has voiced an opinion on this case forever since that young girl went missing in early August. So many of them were, going, oh, we're going to stand our ground. And this little girl was, this was not an accident. Well, now they've all tucked tail and they've all done a 360 and run away.
Wow.
And it's
where have we seen that before?
Exactly.
You're right. Exactly.
It's just makes me so angry. And the point that I want to bring out is they all keep talking about, the alcohol in her system. When right here in the autopsy report, let's see, it's page 6 of, yes, of the last
Do you have
page.
that posted somewhere? Do you have the autopsy posted somewhere?
Somebody does. Let me do a copy and I post the link. I've posted it on YouTube.
All right. I can at least add it to my other website, so that way if people just want to easily download it, they can.
Yeah. And the things that people, they obviously didn't read this entire thing. For one, it says that the postmortem toxicology on liver tissue positive for ethanol, which is the alcohol. And then it states possibly all or part from decomposition. Now, I did read somewhere else, and I was trying to find it, that they state in another report that they do feel that all of the alcohol came from decomp. The girl was not drinking. She had not touched alcohol. But yet a lot of these so-called professionals are talking about how inebriated she was. Then
that's
also,
because
what?
That's because of the alleged witnesses, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, you have to ignore a witness and go with the report. The toxicology tells you.
And it's 18 pages. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty big.
Yeah, there's several pages, which is really good. And then the next thing I wanted to point out is page. Let me see. I'll find it because it's really important. Okay, it is page 3 of 4.
Can you screen share?
Oh, and let me see. Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Present, screen share, and there, and we will go here. Okay, you guys seen the report now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can scoot up here. Here's what I want everybody to pay attention to right here. This is where it's talking about the THC. Here's what they test for and what they look for on the limits. But notice down below, not reported, Delta 9 THC canceled due to sample matrix problem.
Yeah, I noticed that myself.
That mean?
They canceled it. They didn't finish the testing. But yet, what do you see on the very front page? Let me get there back to the results. Did I go too far? I think I went too far. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, right here. They go right here on the positive findings. The delta THC positive. Well, how do we know it's positive when it was canceled due to a faulty matrix? Excuse me?
What does that mean, a
Is that
faulty matrix?
the
I'm
sample?
not. I'm sorry. What?
It was the sample.
Okay.
The
The
sample
sample
was
was no
faulty.
good. Yeah.
But is that the presumptive test that was done by the ME before they sent it off to Chicago?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so because this says right here. I'm not sure. It says
It's the date.
analysis by LCMSMS. So who is whoever this is? They're the ones
That
who
would be
did it.
Chicago, yeah. Because I know that they did an assumption or a presumption.
Chicago.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I'd send
and
it to Chicago for.
Because
Yeah.
that's where the company is that did the intensive testing, drug testing and everything, the tox screen.
For California, for a California case, and not the first time I've seen that. I'm saying, but it's
That's
interesting.
what I've heard is that they sent it off there. What is the company called again?
it's
And
just it says LC-MS/MS.
No, can you
Oh, I'm sorry.
can
What?
you scroll up, please? NMS.
NMS Labs.
It's just such an interesting area, Truckee, and I really wanted to hear. I don't know if Steven's talked about it or not. I know he's busy with other things, but I really wanted to hear it because I know once he hears where this is Truckee, he's gonna have some of the same questions I'm having here. It's just an interesting area.
But yeah, exactly. But when I'm reading this and they've canceled due to the sample matrix problem. So I want to know how they found that she was positive. How could she test positive if the sample is being canceled? And then also the fact that we need to reiterate that hold on, stop sharing, that the ethanol found in her system was due to decomposition. It's an artifact. It's a product of the breaking down of the tissues. So
100%.
when you're looking at when you're looking at this girl, yes, she had nicotine in her system, but I think it was known she smoked cigarettes. So either she was slipped something prior and it affected her, and which is why she never made it home. But yet it was somehow either left in her system long enough where she died, it could have contributed to her death, but it was enough time to pass that it would come out of her system, or it was left in her system after she died and her body was hidden for long enough, as you were explaining. I'll let Sophia talk a little bit more about that in a second. But we have a young girl who's 16, almost 17, out past her curfew, writing a completely legible and coherent text message to her parents, her mom, I mean, saying, okay, I'm going to be home. And when you look at the time frame of how long it would have taken her to drive where she was to her house, it barely left her enough time to tell everybody, okay, I'm leaving, goodbye, I'm getting in my car and I'm going home. That would have been what she was doing. So she wasn't drunk as a skunk. She wasn't stumbling around anywhere. She was a sober young lady who supposedly sent a text to her mom saying she was going home.
And the home was close, is what you're saying? It was really close.
Sophia knows that. Sophia, you want to tell him?
It's about 15, 20 minutes because she had to go around the reservoir. And that area that she had to drive through, she couldn't drive very fast. She could go maybe 10, 15 miles an hour until she got out of that area.
Right,
And
because
then
it was in a campsite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's usually
Very
that's usually like a 10 to 15 mile zone, generally.
So
interesting. And nobody saw her leave. Well, they wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
They wouldn't
No,
be.
nobody saw.
Usually, they have like a park ranger, have somebody at where they can go in and where they can go out, but it would depend on the time.
And I was wrong about Chicago. It was actually Pennsylvania is where they shipped it to. So
Isn't that further?
I know.
It sounds
But
like
that's where
maybe the feds were involved then, if that's the case.
feds were involved. Yes, they were. They were the first ones to know. I believe that they were the first ones to take the vehicle. And then it was either Nevada County that got the vehicle first, then the feds took it from them, and then CHP got it. So anyway, and she was smoking a vape. She was vaping with tobacco. I guess that's the trend for them. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of kids
But,
are doing the vaping thing these days. Yeah.
So
Hey, got a
Anyway.
question for you guys. How long this thing is? I
Yes.
can't find an answer for this right now. A few different drugs that I would assume, if they were being used, and they're pretty readily available for, even somebody that's like 18. Just throwing it out there, just general number, to go and purchase things like chloroform. How long do they last in the system? Does anybody know? Because I don't think it lasts very long.
I don't know.
And it can also still knock you out, but it's also after. It's not like Hollywood where just right on the cloth over somebody's mouth, and then they're out after a few seconds. And it takes like 5 minutes.
There's no signs of rape or anything like that, right?
Well,
that they
I
found.
don't think it's anything like that. And because I've got questions on a few things. Like for instance, if she was driving, why is she in the back seat? If she was, I don't know, buckled up, she seemed to be pretty pretty intelligent girl. And of course, I know there's going to be people that are saying, they're going to maybe say, okay, well, I watched that whole Adventures or AWP, whatever I'm just going to call them that watched that video and saw the clip where the AAA or whatever he was, the tow truck driver guy, where he spoke to him, and he mentioned that she had said, well, how do you put a seatbelt on or something like this? An obvious question for somebody that's got their driver's license for one. But a smart girl that's already graduated early, just throwing it out there, looked highly uncomfortable with a guy that's there that happened to have a description of somebody that, very close to her, was supposed to be 4 hours away, just throwing that out there. That's my question here though, is how does she end up in the back seat with her, I think it was her left shoe or boot or whatever, and her sock off? If she was driving, that doesn't make any sense.
No,
and, on top of that, as I looked and I listened to what they had to say, and they said, from what I recall, at least, it was 3 windows all the way down, and then one that was halfway down.
No, on the driver's side, the passenger window halfway down, and then the passenger side front was all the way down. The others were up.
Okay, but still, either way, it's
right.
To me, it's still a little peculiar.
Right. And Sophia and I have been talking about this a lot. And she was found actually in the very, very back of her vehicle.
Right.
And Sophia has been saying, until she's blue in the face, when that car hit the water, she had more than enough time to get out and actually even open her door, get out and stand there before there was plenty of time for her to save herself.
Right.
And then if by some chance she waits until it starts to actually sink, as she's been floating for several 30, 40 seconds to get to where she's going, then she still had a window to get out of on the other side. So why would she unbuckle herself, push her seat all the way back, then swim to the back of the vehicle all the way to the back, which you're going to have to struggle to get back there?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just going out the window.
Was there a back window on the back?
Yeah, there were. Mm-hmm.
Like a trunk
a back window in the trunk? No,
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No. She would have had to
It's
have
a
been
hatchback.
able to break it to get
It's
out.
a hatchback.
Well, that's
It
why
is
I'm thinking.
there's a window, but she can't push it down.
Yeah, she can't get out.
There's a door. If it's a hatchback, it's a door. Maybe she was trying to get to the door.
But would you do that? Would you fight to get to the back of something when you had an exit right to your right?
Maybe, but if the car was upside down, right?
It
Well, that
doesn't
takes
go
time.
upside down until later. she had plenty of time to get out before it even flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
How do they know
Oh
that?
yeah.
Well, it's because of the air on the tires.
Also, there's no drop off.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this forever. I have screenshots of the receded water from that area, and there's no drop off. It's just a gradual decline down the hill.
Which
And
also, I mean, how did she get that far out anyways? I mean, that would have taken
Yeah.
some speed to get out there.
If there was any other
She-
DNA, would the car being in the lake, would that mess all of that up? Would they still be able to find other
Could.
DNA?
Well, according to the one investigator guy that was on the Duty Run channel, what was his name?
Mhm. Ed,
Ed. He says that yes, they could get fingerprints and probably DNA. He says you can get a lot even though it's underwater, but they weren't wearing gloves when they were pulling the car out. They didn't protect anything. They didn't secure anything.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you could
And-
test that against their DNA, right? To rule
Yeah, but
out
if
that-
they could have, we don't know. We don't know where the DNA could have been. So if they're touching things, maybe they're pulling it off.
Oh,
what
I
I'm
see.
saying?
I see.
Yeah. If you're helping pull the car, it's like, well, you don't know.
but I'm sorry.
Right.
Do we
Deb?
know?
go.
Do we know if what was she a swimmer? Did she know how to swim?
I'm sure she
Yes.
did.
She knew how to swim. She's driven 4 ATVs, like as far back as, that's what they did up there is they drove ATVs, they swam in that reservoir, they did all kinds of things. They were very outdoorsy. And she did not have her driver's license. She had a learner's permit from what I found out.
Oh, that makes things a little more interesting. But still, seatbelt.
Yes. I think that was code, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it came off as something like she was trying to go and cry for help, and the guy was just kind of like not picking up on it, or really
Yeah.
just not doing anything about it.
I think he just wasn't picking up on it because their behavior was so strange. That's what he was focusing on. But he had to run the VIN number, and he had to have had their like AAA card or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to match up, wouldn't it? I mean, you call AAA, you're a member. He
Well, and
comes.
I wanted to ask you, was he absolutely certain that it was Kiely standing there? Because when so I'm trying to get the clarification because here's where my brain's going, is because if it was another blonde there with the boyfriend and Kylie's body could be potentially in the back, we're doing hypotheticals here, and they were calling because they couldn't start the car. And that's why that would make sense then about asking about the seatbelt. Well, how do you do the seatbelt and all this other stuff? Because he had to tell them, well, the car's not starting because you don't have, was it the seatbelt engaged or something? They weren't doing something. Kiely would know that about her car. And so I'm like going, was poor Kylie's body already in the back? And were these two, they stopped the car for some stupid reason, then couldn't get it started. So they had to call somebody. I don't know.
Possibility too.
There's also a second school of thought was that this could have been like a human trafficking thing gone wrong. And she was trying to stop whatever was happening to her by saying, oh no, my car is not turning on. So then she calls AAA or whoever he worked for. He comes out, and then whatever she's trying to tell him, he's just not picking up on it.
Yeah.
But he did record it all. He said the alarm bells were going off for him, and that's why he turned on his both recording devices that he had on his vehicle. So we know that the police had that. The FBI most likely had it. They were there. There was, supposedly a whole lot of agents staying at the local hotel that was there in Truckee. So
The useless agency, you mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, sometimes they will tell the public the case is closed, so that they can go and continue on and try to see what happens based on that too. Hopefully, whoever to get people to let their guard down.
Well, they also had Homeland Security that was supposedly looking into this because it happened on, I think it was federal land, or I'm
That
not
would
exactly
be,
sure.
it's a state park, I think, right? Or I could be wrong on that.
I can't remember if it's a state park or a federal park, but because of the water reservoir too
Mm,
that's involved, that in human trafficking supposedly, because they were thinking that she had been human trafficked or kidnapped. So, and I did look up what the goals are, what Homeland Security does, and supposedly that's just one of the things that they do also is offer their assistance in that type of case. I don't know if they actually were there or not. It's just the word around the true crime committee or community. So,
are the
but
parents separated?
the mother and the father are separated. The mother and father were actually both there during the search efforts, along with the stepfather.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah,
next question. Does the mom have a boyfriend or something?
a stepfather, yeah.
Does he have a
So
criminal record?
I'm not going to be saying
History of
anything about
abusing
these
women.
parents. I mean, I might not agree with her parenting skills, but she's going to have to live with this for the rest of her life. So I'm not going to say anything against the parents, except for the fact that she could have been a better mother. But that's about it.
Yeah, and L's asking, are y'all aware of the oddities with a few in the true crime community's reports on this? I mean, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
I
Oh,
am
yes.
so frustrated with all of them. I've
Anybody want
gone
to catch me up?
again, they're doing the back steps, the backpedaling, because at first and they all made so much money on this case, all doing these super chats and getting money, collecting money from people who are calling into their shows, and they're all like, oh yes, this isn't an accident, blah blah blah, we're gonna. And then all of a sudden, I swear it's like overnight, everybody flipped a switch, and now they're all like, oh, it was an accident and we're not going to cover this anymore. She was drunk,
Jeez.
she was high, she was driving, and we're going to let it go.
Didn't they do this with Gabby Petito as well? And that was
Yes.
proven also. I mean,
And David
ridiculous.
too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's right up until that police report. Well, actually, no. Let me backtrack a little bit. It was up until the fire trail cams came out, supposedly showing her going into the reservoir that night. But number one, you can't tell what type of vehicle it is. Number two, you can't tell if she's driving it. And number three, you can't even tell if it really went into the water or not.
Can they tell
Because
what speed?
no, that's the thing. You can't even really tell what's going on. Now people have taken that video and enhanced it kind of thing. But I'm sorry, I just got distracted. I'm going to touch on that in just a minute.
But so you see, and I have a problem with that video, even if,
Yes.
because we have the timestamp of from when the text that she sent to her mom, and we know the time frame that it would take between that and when she would have to get home. So basically she's telling her mom, okay, I'm going to be leaving here in about 5 minutes. So basically how young kids do, I'm just going to go say goodbye to my friends and I'm going to get in my car and go home. So how could she go from that little area and then plus walk to her vehicle, wherever her vehicle is, and then all of a sudden I'm going to get high, stoned, and out of my mind, and then drive super fast down a road that I know, and I'm going to pretend I don't know, and I'm going to go really fast into a lake, and then I'm going to sit there and put my seat back and wait, and then when the car starts to flip, I'm going to try to swim to the back. I mean, it's insanity what they want us to believe. Absolute insanity.
Yeah. And, just the players in this case is, I just, like Elle is talking about the Ukrainian chick. She goes by Zanime online is She's a refugee from the Ukraine who came here about 20 years ago. She's been in the army. I think it's reserves now, or the guard, one of the two. She works for this type of satellite defense thing, actually at the old base that I was stationed at, Moffel Naval Air Station, which has been converted now. That's where she works. And one of the things that she does is she manipulates video. It's actually stated on her bio of what she does. She basically does that for the government. So this easily could have been done. The boyfriend that Kiely was dating at the time of her death, her grandfather he was in charge of the fire trail cams, something like that. His company was the one who actually had control over that. And there's just so many people that have interjected into this case that is just so weird. And they're all seem to be connected. And that's the weirdest part of it all. It's like anybody who's come into this case after she went missing, they're all connected. And it's just really weird. And yes, the driver's seat was set back. When AWP pulled the car out of the water, you can't even see the driver's seat pushed up. It's pushed all the way back for a very tall person, or it could have been done that way so that she could have got out of her seat to go to the back. But I have an issue with that because there's no water in her lungs. There's no water in her stomach.
Her bronchioles, her alveoli, everything is clear. They're patent. There's nothing. And there was, what's her name? How do you pronounce her name? Dre Latina? Is that how you say her name? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this woman, I really had high hopes for. Now, but even she did a 360 on her last video. But if you want to get a super good understanding, this woman is phenomenal in her explanation of the autopsy. She really breaks it down. Fantastic. And her YouTube channel is DRA Latina. I mean, she did a phenomenal job. But she was also explaining that you can have a laryngospasm. Now, so that means that your larynx and everything would just kind of slam shut, but that only occurs like if there's a super sudden change in temperature, like if you're really hot, you jump into cold water and you go, you kind of stop and you breathe in and you can't breathe. Or if you start to first drown, and which would happen because the water wasn't that cold. It was like 70 degrees. It's cool, but it's not super cold, that it would cause a laryngospasm. So for that actually to occur, she would probably have had to suck in water at first. You suck that in, it causes, there's a whole bunch of things that physiological things that go on. But you would still have the water in the bronchus and the alveoli. It would be, they would be able to slice and get to her lungs and press on those parts of her lung, and fluid would be coming out. There's nothing there. And Dre Latina, I wish I knew her name. Seriously, you guys got to check it out because this woman really explained everything super well. But then she goes on to explain how there would also be hemorrhaging and stuff in the ear canals and in the sinus cavities. Things that you would expect to find. You would find like petechiae on the lungs, like little spots, little punctates on the lungs, dark red, which I call it like petechiae-like things that you would find on the surface of the lungs. It's not there. Nothing is there that indicates drowning.
But it's still ruled as still ruled as a drowning.
Yes, it's still ruled as a drowning. And I know I heard one time somebody talking about a dry drowning, and now a dry drowning in EMT, and what we learned when I was working in the hospital, when we had young children coming in for dry drowning, what that would entail is like if they're out there swimming, same thing, they're playing in the water, they suck it in, they choke on water, it's like, oh, okay. But then later on, things start to shut down because the water's getting deep down in, and now they can't breathe very well. It's now that little bit of water that they sucked in has now reached its way till the alveoli, and they can't do the oxygen exchange. So since you're not in water, you're out of water, but you're still technically drowning. We call that a dry drowning. Now, we know clearly this is not the case with Kiely. Not at all. Her lungs are so dry, it's not funny. So Sophia and I, we talk about this a lot, and it's like that girl appears to me to have been deceased prior to entering that water. What do you think,
How did
Sophia?
she die? Because, I mean, you're looking at some simple things, like, for instance, it didn't, I mean, from what we've gathered from the report, it didn't sound like she was beaten to death. It didn't really sound like and obviously she wasn't strangled to death. Her hyoid bone was still intact. There was no bruising around the neck or anything like this. So the question is, how did she die? And if it was something like, for instance, she was injected with something or she consumed something, then still there would most likely be some traces of that in the system. And I mean, I'm not seeing anything there necessarily at this point that could indicate that either.
Right.
I have theories, but I'm not willing to go on the record with that yet. So,
well, I've got a theory. I'm actually kind of curious what you guys think on this. Is that's why I was bringing up chloroform earlier, because how long does it last in the system? And I'm sure there's other drugs that just kind of they get in the system and then they can be out within a few hours.
what about GHB? A bad reaction to GHB?
That's a possibility. But I mean,
here's my problem with both of those is the fact that she supposedly, but do we even have proof that it was her? She's sending a text and she's on her way home. GHB would have taken effect before that, unless maybe
it wasn't her.
Somebody else sent the text.
Right. So maybe who knows how long, maybe. Yeah, there's another theory. Let's toss that out there. So we don't know. Go ahead.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, sorry for cutting you off too, but the whole AAA guy or whatever he is, he mentioned a male there. And if you listen to his description with the black hat, the shaggy hair, very, very slender build, I mean, that rings a bell with the guy who claims he was 4 hours away. Yeah, I'm not saying he did it per se, but you're also seeing some strange coincidences with his Instagram. And I know that people have gone after his Instagram already, but, as he's using this whole hashtag of LLK, long live the king, laugh like hero, or even as what we talked about earlier, maybe he just used it as long live Kiely. Regardless of what he's using it for, it's the whole thing. He's trying to go. It almost seems like he's trying to draw attention to it, so he can go get some extra like views and things. But if you were to look at his Instagram, you start looking at the things he was tagged in and the people he was tagged with. While he was with Kiely, he was tagged with some other females. I could see why she would be upset about that. And I mean, on top of that, I've also heard that apparently they weren't even dating anymore. Like he was the ex.
No, he was. Yes.
So, we're seeing this. I mean, maybe at the party, it was one of those girls. I got to hear on, I'm trying to remember which article it was, but there was an article I read and it was Kate Kuno, I believe her name was. This is what the article said. And apparently, I believe that's who it was. It was either her or was Sammy. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe it was Kate that had said something about how how Kiely was actually arguing with another female at the party. So it begged the question, why was she arguing with another female at something that's supposed to be a happy event? Unless something had occurred possibly with somebody else that maybe they knew,
And it's still this party, like Sophia said before, that it's a party that there are no photos of. There's no video, there are no photos, nothing. And I want to answer Deb here real quick. Deb's asking, could she have been suffocated? Well, according to the autopsy reports, there was no bruising around her lips and on her gums, no evidence of biting of the tongue. So I think they ruled that out. Right, Sophia?
As far as we know.
But what about if she was drugged first? They could suffocate her pretty easily. She wouldn't be fighting back a whole lot. So once again, bring up the whole thing about chloroform. How long does it last in the system? That's where I'm curious about. That's my big thing here. How long do these drugs and these kinds of medications, I guess you could say, these gases and things like this, how long does it take for them to leave the system after used?
If she died right away that night,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she died immediately.
once it's in your body and once you die, once your metabolism stops,
Right,
everything stops.
Yeah.
Right. The drugs are in suspended. What do they call it? I'm sorry. Suspended animation. Is that the?
Well, it could be, but everything ceases.
Mhm.
Just
And
Everything ceases.
Bye,
her-
Russell.
her body was found how far? 3 weeks?
55 yards. It was 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
She just-
Russell's. Go ahead.
She disappeared or was reported missing August 6th. They found her on August 21st.
21st.
I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the other thing Russell said was, did she actually send that text? And that would be something only the mom, I guess, could really. But the mom would know, like, hey, this doesn't sound like something my daughter would say. Do we have the contents of the actual text message?
Mm-mm.
Probably in one of the groups.
I mean, okay, because we talk about fake documents and stuff like that, people creating fake stuff. I do just kind of want. There's no official police report. Do we need to request data? Would that be a good idea? Do a data request and tracking?
I know I'm going to, like, sometime in November, when they had originally said they were going to close the case. I'm not sure it's closed right now because people
okay.
keep getting their FOIAs denied. So I don't think they're quite done yet.
That's interesting because they haven't come out and did like a press conference or anything like that.
I don't know, but I just don't believe that I haven't heard, but that doesn't mean anything. I haven't heard them say they're finished with the investigation. So until they finish it, it's still considered open, and they're not going to share anything. You
Sure.
can request all you want, and it'll be denied. But
that gives me hope that they're really looking for whoever. If there's foul play involved, that definitely. But of course, with the Crowley case, they had that. Within 24 hours, if not less, they were saying David did it, and they were not giving out any FOIA request. They weren't giving us any data, even though I strongly believe in the Crowley case, people were getting data. We were not getting any data until after the case was closed, which that's standard, of course. But California is an interesting state because you may be able to get a lot more video and audio and things like that, possibly, maybe. But she's under 18, right?
yeah, she's 16.
Oh, that's gonna be very difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I know, that we're not getting anything else in regards to this case, as far as I know.
So where did this text message come from? Was this just a quote that the mom said or something?
Yes, and I can't find the actual text message. She was keeping in contact. She was supposed to be home by a certain time, and then she texted her mom asking if she could stay a little bit later, and the mother texts back saying yes. Then a little bit later, she's like, okay, I'm going to be leaving now, and the mother basically said, I love you, I'm going to bed. She went to bed. And then the next morning, the mother wakes up. Kiely's not home. She's supposed to meet, I believe, the grandmother at Starbucks. And then Kiely was going to be going with friends for the rest of the day and then overnight with friends. And she never met up with anybody that day.
So when was she reported missing?
Around 5 or 6 the next evening.
I have no words.
That's because usually in Cal they won't do anything if it's before 24 hours. So that would be before 24 hours, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Deb is asking. This was back here a little bit where she says, what would it show with a plastic bag? Not necessarily hand to face. I think she's talking about suffocation. I'm not really sure. I would assume that there would still be petechial hemorrhages within the eyes because of the pressure that's put around within the head itself, trying to breathe when there's nothing there, which is what causes those petechial hemorrhages. I would think that they would find something. But that's a good question. And Elle is saying, how is there such a big party with no footage or pics? Something is rotten in Denmark. I know Sophia and I have been talking a lot about that.
All the pictures that have come forward and have been used in the news and stuff like that have been debunked, basically saying that these are from earlier parties that have happened. So
who are the people that are coming out with these fake party videos and photos? Are they part of the conspiracy community, or are they people that claim they were there? Sorry.
They're not technically fake. They're just from earlier parties that have happened.
But how did they surface? Do we know how they surface?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, just people
like
have given it.
Yeah. If
supposedly
people are, I'm sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting.
Supposedly, the police had Sammy Smith collect stuff from the teenagers who were at the party. And she even spoke with them privately inside of a vehicle. And gosh, I really hope the FBI bugged that vehicle. So they were, she was like, talk to me if you're too afraid to talk to the police. And you could actually hear it on several of the search videos that they have posted on the internet. And it's crazy. It's like, why would they have a 18-year-old girl in charge of collecting evidence for them? I mean, the chain of custody is broken at that point.
They wouldn't. She was lying up her butt. Greg, do you see the message from Derek?
Oh, hey, Derek, how are you? Yeah, very nice meeting you too, my friend.
Hi, Derek. But
welcome, Derek.
We know that there's no way the police would do that. Like you said, the chain of custody is broken. Anything could be contaminated. That's witness tampering because they don't have any experience in questioning a witness. It's like, and then the old, because we know and we're kids and they'll talk to us. Oh, baloney. Oh, that was such garbage.
It's strange.
Yeah, where have you been, Derek? Oh, I'm sorry. Miss you too. Where have you been? Come on back. Glad to see you back.
You think of all the rabbit holes and red flags that the David Crowley case has. This case is like on steroids. It is crazy. And it's hard to know what the truth is because you're getting everything secondhand knowledge from the friends or people who are just shady and have interjected themselves into this case. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to hear from you. I want to hear from the police. But the police, after just a couple days into the search, gave up on giving any type of updates whatsoever. And the last update that we were supposed to get, we weren't even supposed to get one until November 1st. And that's when everything was supposed to be available for people who had sent off FOIAs. And all of a sudden, this early autopsy summary leaks out, and you're just like, blindsided by it because you weren't expecting that. And the talk screen, you weren't expecting that. And now people who sent in the FOIAs are being denied by CHP, by Truckee, and anybody else, all the other organizations that were involved, saying that's all you're getting. You're cut off. So maybe the case isn't over. Maybe they're still looking into it, which
Yeah.
I pray they are, because there's so many red flags.
Well, I'm looking through the Instagram right now of the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend rather, just because there's a video that happened to be, around the same time that Kiely went missing on August 5th when it was posted. But then if you look, the next post is actually not until August 21st. I'm a little weirded out by this because he's got some inconsistent posts like that. Before it's semi-inconsistent, but we're creatures of habit, so if we're going to be consistent with something, like for instance, this guy, he's big on trying to go and get his car videos, I guess, trying to get them to be seen. But he's obviously, going off of his tags and things like this. He's starting to make it kind of big. Not super big, but so it went from car videos. Now he's getting involved with music videos and like this other production company, which I'm assuming is by his friend. But it's one of those things. I'm just having some issues here because it shows a video and it kind of looks like the terrain around Truckee. I'm not 100% sure. I'm still looking, but it's a little odd. Have you guys seen the Instagram posts, the videos?
Who was this again?
Mr. Westfall?
Mr. Westfall.
Yeah, the
Jagger?
ex-boyfriend? Yes.
Oh, Jagger. Now there is a hometown group. It's like a grunge screamo type music group from Truckee, and he might be promoting them. Maybe.
Well,
I
it's a
have
car
to see
video.
the videos.
That's
the
thing.
car videos.
It's literally
okay.
a car video that was posted on August 5th.
Yeah, I have to go back and look again. I am aware that they do like showing off of their vehicles and like doing the donuts and stuff and crazy driftings and all that. So.
Oh yeah.
And Derek says everything David was trying to warn us about has come to fruition to a certain extent. And yeah, that's obviously not the same as a Kiely case, but yes, that is so true, especially right now. I often wonder what David would be saying and what his message to all of us would be if he were alive today. I tell you, a soldier, warrior, he died to deliver us the message. That's true. That's true. He was killed for that.
Yeah, this video is looking awful. Sorry to go and change subject slightly again, but that video is looking more and more like Truckee the more I look at that area around where she went missing, or where her body was found, rather. It's looking more and more like it. It
very well could be. I mean, that's where they like to go and hang out a lot, was that area. They called it the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he was from that area too. I believe that he was only staying with his dad. But I don't know the whole story between Kiely and Jagger, honestly.
It's an odd combination anyways.
So, and I just had only learned that she had another boyfriend at the time. So,
do we know who that was?
Yeah.
His name is out there. I've heard it. I just can't.
Yes.
See, I think that was the thing. So I was like, well, hopefully that would be nice to know. So we got his alibi.
I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
This is totally this area.
Well, I mean, because I'm sorry,
You're good.
I wasn't really surrounding myself with the information of the friends and the boyfriends. And then he only came into the picture like a week and a half. That was the first time I ever heard of his name, was after the fire cameras came out. And so, and at that point, he was just not relevant to me. I was more focused on the fire cameras and the autopsy report and the information that we received.
Right.
So, because I did follow the case, but I did not get into the groups until after she was found. And so a lot of the information that they talked about was like way before me. And I was really hoping that we would get the police reports and start to understand exactly what was going on instead of all the word of mouth and rumor mills and everything.
Right.
Because, I mean, there's just a ton of people who've injected themselves into this case. In fact, Catherine just blocked one of them.
Jeez.
I didn't even get to see everything they said, so thank you for catching that and,
Oh,
and
that-
asking me to do that. I didn't see what they were doing.
Wait, what? Wait,
Yeah.
they were just in chat?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
she was telling me that somebody was. I didn't even get to read what they wrote. Obviously, it wasn't very good, but yeah, I blocked them, and I have no problem blocking people. It's like, yeah, you get rude. Sorry, I'll take you out in
Right.
this way, like blocking you. And that's what I mean by taking you out. You will be blocked. Isn't that sad that we have to jump through hoops to say I didn't mean I was? It's like, oh my gosh.
The thing is we're not even that big of a channel when it comes to this case. We've only done just a couple videos in regards to this case. And the fact that we hit his radar means that we're on to something.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't come and harass people like us. He was only harassing big names who were covering this case.
Well, I mean, you could also. I mean, we know of another group that's something they could
Oh,
possibly
yeah,
be
yeah.
doing. You know,
Well,
using
it's-
that, you know, their influence, if you will.
Yeah. Well,
Sphere
and
of
you know what?
influence.
It'd be great. It's like, I don't care. Let him, I didn't see what he was saying, but it's like, if he wants to bring other people around to our channel, we're talking about it. It's like, sure, go ahead. Maybe
Bring
that'll
us the
get us
views.
even more attention to David's case.
Right.
It's
Not
like,
just that, but showing that, you know, we've proven time and time again that he's innocent, his family's innocent, they were murdered. And on top of that, looking at this case, it's pretty apparent she didn't commit suicide. This is not an accident. You know, when it comes down to the end of the day, this seems like it was semi-planned at least. And the fact that we're not finding a whole lot in her system and the fact that she was all the way in the back, that doesn't make any sense. None of this. I mean, it all leads towards somebody planned to kill her.
mm-hmm.
At least semi-planned.
Yeah, it really does seem like it. When we look at David's case, yeah, I mean, it may have been planned to an extent, but it was so horribly done and so horribly staged. But this young girl, it's like, yeah, it seems like, yeah, they had this well planned out.
Right.
Let's see. How can it be deemed drowning when no water in the lungs? That's what we're asking. It's like, yeah, it's not. It's like, I've never seen anyone drown without no fluid in their lungs, without any fluid in their lungs. Excuse my language. It's getting late. My grammar sucks when it's late.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to see water in her lungs, and when I didn't, that was just the biggest red flag. And then that's when I was going and looking up all the articles and publications on drownings and research studies and everything, trying to find out, how can this be? What needs to be looked at? And it is just crazy, because I was like, okay, her lungs, we have 100 grams and 110 grams for the other one. And they should at least be twice that heavy.
Oh, they should be close to like 800-900, close to 1,000, maybe even more. And they're only 100 and 110. And, it's like, like what Mike Talk Show says, Sammy said she gave shots and shared truly why and shared truly why is she not arrested for manslaughter. I mean, yeah, the girl is sitting there saying she did all the stuff, but the truth of the matter is Sammy has lied out her backside.
Right.
There's nothing I've heard that female say that is true. Oh, she gets on my nerves. Sorry. I just want to go. It's like, how could they just not tell her to shut up? But yet she made it to the news. She, like Sophia was saying, she interjected herself all the time. Callie has felony if adult contribute and or accomplice to control substance. Exactly. Unfortunately, she's telling everybody she's a teenager. So hopefully the police are looking into this and finding out. I think she's like, what, 23, 24? Is that how
24.
old they found out? She's pretty
Who
old.
is this?
Sammy.
She's that old. She's
Yeah.
23.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that. Ooh.
Yep. So Mike is on to
And,
something.
not only do we have somebody that had contributed to a minor, supposedly, but then we also have the fact that Kiely was not supposed to be driving after a certain time. She had supposedly just her learner's permit. Even if she had her driver's license at her age, she was not supposed to drive past a certain time. I believe it's like 10 p.m. It's either 10 or 11 p.m. according to California laws.
Yeah. So her
And
mom dropped the ball. Big
yeah,
time.
she's supposed to have a licensed driver, a parent, like an older licensed driver or a parent driving with her. She's not supposed to be taking anybody with her in the car without an adult.
Mhm.
And she's not supposed to be driving after a certain time frame. You got all this. And the person involved in that could be charged. Allowing her to drive after dark. The reason why that law was there was to cut down on teenage deaths.
Right.
So, car accidents. And then I got interview mom named Megan talk about cop excuses or how. Oh yes, Megan. She was given advice to stop talking because she was just.
We've seen that one before.
Mhm.
Oh yes.
9/11.
Yep.
No. Megan interjected herself into this case. And if you look at the videos of Sammy back from 10 years ago when she's like supposedly 13, 14, maybe 15 years old in these videos. And the person she's doing the videos with is Megan, the one who was going around on all these talk shows on YouTube discussing this case. No wonder she was too busy trying to protect Sammy. She's probably the only friend that she has left. So.
Well, how did she? I mean, do we know how her and Kiely met?
I don't know.
They've just been friends for a long time.
I'm just curious how they met now because the age difference. I mean, it's quite a bit. It's 7 years. I mean, so she was 9 when she was 16 or something like this. I mean, and they're hanging out. I mean, that seems a little odd.
Yeah, it seems really odd.
She like her babysitter?
That's what I was wondering.
And that's kind of weird. Babysitter now hanging out with and providing alcohol for her young friend. Yeah, that seems likely. I'm gonna find this place. I need to find this whole where this video took place. This is really bothering me. The fact that it was literally the day of the party when this was filmed. At least posted to Instagram.
Okay, yes.
That to me seems a little interesting here. And also not to mention the fact that his car also had some issues after that.
Really?
Yep. As he doesn't post anything about his car until September 17th, and he says, really missing the Z right now. Hope to get the new motor and tranny soon. Place your bets now because I made a lot of call outs. Why would his car be messed up? And it's a new motor and tranny. Why are they messed up? And it's also the same one that he's used in that video too. Is I see that after going through that post, there's that same video, which means this refers to that same time. So now I'm curious, when did she break up with him? Because then at that point, then we can be looking at motive here. At that point, who's got motive to do it? And even then, who's got the know-how? You know what I mean? This is something, I mean, it's planned up to some extent, because where's all the proof that, that somebody's involved? Why is it underwater? Why? I mean, there's a lot of different questions you can ask, and I don't think we have all the answers for quite yet.
Yeah, Whitlock, are you talking about the Kiely case or the Crowley case? Which one? Oh, of course, it's probably the same. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, William.
Oh, it's all good. Let's see, that was Whitlock.
Derek, are you also talking about David's case, or are you talking about Kiely's case? It's just so sad that both of these cases, well, I mean, Kiely, at least at the beginning, there were people who appeared to be in her corner, but they've all now tucked tail and run. But you have two people who are so clearly been murdered. Oh, yeah. And everybody has turned their back on them.
I'm seeing the same things I was having an issue with with Uvalde too. There's a lot of areas where Google's not taking pictures, or they're blurring a lot out.
Yeah, I actually need to go back and look at the police cam video that was released, because I was hearing quite a bit of interesting things when I had my headphones on, and I need to just go back and concentrate on what they were saying, because there's just so many crazy things that they were talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stuff that made the news was just complete disinformation compared to what these police officers were discussing in the hallway when they got there.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's more and more of these police departments. We're seeing huge amounts of corruption. And on top of that, we already know how corrupt the FBI is. So, I mean, it's more and more this compounding. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against the police by any means. I do believe in law enforcement, but I also believe in good law enforcement. I think like most of us do, just, we want good law enforcement. We want to see the least corrupt possible. But with this case, I got to looking in a truckie. Thank you, Sophia. And, I have to.
Lots of red flags.
Yeah. And it's just beyond just lots. It's just like, where do the red flags end? You can see how the corruption how corrupt the town is. It doesn't, like, if you were to just read it at its basis, it just seems like a very close-knit town. But if you look at everything and you start looking at the cases, you start looking at everything surrounding Truckee, what isn't getting covered up? It's just like, for instance, there's this case going on real close near to my house, actually. The police know about these guys that are going around and they're destroying entire setups, like Halloween setups and stuff at people's homes. They were literally threatening kids at parks. We're talking 15, 16-year-old and older kids threatening young kids like as young as 8. And they're threatening with knives and violence. Police have known about this. Will not release names, will not do anything about it. And these kids are still out there. It's the same BS we're seeing everywhere. So it's kind of frustrating to see.
It really is. And what was war? The case finally did. It had caught my attention. I know Sophia's been watching it probably from the beginning. just so you know, just to kind of put this out there, I on purpose didn't say anything because I wanted to wait until the autopsy report came back, because that really is what was going to tell us a lot of everything. Because up until that point, everything was speculation. It was suspect that she was in the back, right? And we're all kind of going, well, okay, it kind of looks like foul play, but we'll wait and see. And then, yeah, after that, and then to watch everybody step back and do a complete 360 or 180, I'm sorry, do a complete 180 on her case like they did with David. I'm just like, I have to speak up. And with Derek, I don't know if you've been watching our latest videos. I've put up, actually, Sophia and I have done quite a few. But definitely watch the last one we did on the Blacklight report. And that's going to open your eyes to a lot of like, holy cow. You see as plain as day, you know, that David and Kamel, just before they died, they were like living their best life. And their internet searches show exactly what they were doing. They were just living life. And then where it shows in the Blacklight report where the hard drive, the root directory of their hard drive was accessed on January 14th. When you know that has to be done manually. That wasn't by, oops, I bumped my screen. So somebody else had access to that computer and actually looked on their hard drive 2 days before their bodies were found.
Right. And
no water in the lungs equals killed before she went into the water, period. That's what we're saying. That's what we think. And yes, what was Ward, the U.S., I mean, we were just talking about that not too long ago. What would David be saying about, you know, where we're at in society right now? A lot of us, you know, I never knew the guy, but it's like just getting to know him through investigating his case. It's like the U.S. could use David Crowley right now.
Oh, I find it? No. Sorry, I'm still looking. I'm desperate. I'm gonna find this. But no, I mean that's the thing. I mean, with David, I mean he was one of those people that he wasn't a whistleblower by any means, but he gave out so much information about things that were going on. You know, for somebody that was apparently so suicidal, right? Why is he looking up those NATO rounds? Why is he looking up the details about the Iraq war? It looked more like he was trying to go and put pieces together. You know, you just look through his search history and you just see that there. And it's just, this is a guy that was done with the military because he saw what he was doing was wrong and that he was misled. You know, this is a man that, I mean, he had I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was, wasn't it the Pakistani flag in his basement?
Yeah, I believe so.
Either that or it was the Iraqi flag, but regardless, it's, you know, he had this Middle Eastern flag down there. This isn't a man that hated the Middle East. If he hated the Middle East, he would not have that down there.
Yeah, and
you know,
not exactly.
So, but in his trailer was what's really interesting, because he was showing off the people that were masked long before. You know, I mean, this is still. I mean, it's after, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember the rapper's name. There was another rapper who had done that too, and you don't hear anything about him anymore either. But it just seems to be, it's like anybody that's spoken out against any of that plan, that they're gone. I'm not saying that's mere coincidences. I still think the people that it did this to David, I mean, I don't think it had anything to do with that at all. It's possible there could have been some connections. I think there's some eerie connections to some of them, but I think this is more or less jealousy, greed, and more jealousy, but more about David's ambition and drive versus theirs, and his ability to go and get things done while they had none. And these are people that were supposed to be in the field, you know, in that field, and he just comes in and just blows them away. You know, like I said, I mean, you look at the strange things here. Now, the biggest one I also thought really, really was interesting here, and it just screams motive. You know, and that's fine. Danny August Mason, come after me all he wants. I don't give a shit. Please do. I'd love to have that conversation. But it's the whole thing that Danny August Mason, right after David died, tried to go and take the Gray State in his own direction. after he had already blatantly lied to the police in an interview that he had nothing to do with the film other than he was an actor. Well, he wrote the script. There's video footage of this. There's no way that in hell the police didn't have this or would have this. There's a lot of things right there as red flags, but it's the fact that he also went ahead and started recruiting other actors and other people involved with, that were supposed to be part of the alleged Patriot movement, right? I'm not talking Patriot Friends. Those guys are all feds, let's be honest. But it's the whole thing that he tries to get the Gray State going after David died. And he tries to get that produced through the same production company that David had already basically been ready to go. And I think the only reason why nothing was signed is because Adam Gleason was probably telling him, hey, don't sign anything yet. Even if you could, don't do it. Wait until we got Danny August Mason off this. We've already got Mitch off. Let's get Danny August Mason out of here. Once he's off the case, off this entire thing here, or at least has some kind of an agreement with you in writing, let's just get him off first. Is then once we can get him off, because it was pretty clear he was going to get him written completely off, that he was going to go and just kind of move with it, and it was going to be a done deal. And even then, with the interview with Dan, it seemed pretty apparent that's what was going on. Reading the contracts, same thing, pretty apparent. That's why I don't understand why the police didn't see that as a giant red flag and didn't go after him and triple down on questioning him just by himself. Even is that guy, that right there just screams nothing but motive. Get rid of David's, and then you go and try and fill in and take this with your own company and take the same exact thing which you thought was the script and then running with it. And that's all it screamed to me. It's just he was just trying to do that. So him not be able to do it, motive.
Oh, exactly. They and that's the thing that always bothered me with the police. It's like, they have no problem saying, and we know it's written down, that they found no motive for David to do the thing that he did. So he must have just snapped, right? I'm going to go be making popcorn. Now I'm going to go kill my family. Right. And he wasn't making it. That's just me being snarky. But here you've got Danny August Mason and the script. He was going to be bound and determined. He was going to be making money off that thing. And motive, he saw that it was going to be a $30 million deal. Now, granted, David was not going to get $30 million, but they were budgeted the Gray State was budgeted for $30 million in Hollywood, for crying out loud. And then you have Sean Wright saying, hey, don't be posting the rise, because if you do, you're going to send me to prison. My court date's coming up. He was looking at 76 years for tax evasion. So motive, for freaking crying out loud. You've got two of people close to him that have motive. And I'm not saying they're guilty. I'm saying they have motive. And the police should have investigated these two guys, interviewed them, but they didn't do any of it.
Right. It's bizarre. And the fact that they didn't even consider it, that screams A, that's either they're that unintelligent, or B, they knew exactly what was going on. Not to mention that the police chief came out soon after the case, even occurred, where they actually got involved. And he was like, nope, he did it. Okay, with what proof?
My favorite thing to quote, and Greg gets so mad at me, and Greg has a point, but I'm going to quote it. And I tell him, as long as it's in that newspaper and the police have never backstepped it and the reporters have never backstepped it, I'm going to throw it in their face. He said that within 2 hours, they knew that this was murder-suicide. And it's like, you didn't know crap within 2 hours.
Right.
Because you had nothing within 2 hours. You leave that place with 3 bullet fragments and 6 casings and an unspent cartridge with 3 bodies. And then, oops, all 3 bullets belong to one person and no bullets for the other 2. Really? Right.
Well, if you're going within 2 hours of them actually starting the case, the detectives hadn't even arrived at the crime scene at that time.
Yep.
So I mean, how could they have their decision already in 2 hours if they hadn't even been to the crime scene?
Yep. Straight away too.
So it drives me crazy. I wanted to bring some attention back to Derek's comment here, where he said he had a roommate in Iraq that showed how multi-U.S. corporations were making money off of the war, and he was investigated by the CID of the Army. What does that tell you? You come forward and you come clean and you start telling people what the military's doing, what the government's doing, and you don't think they're not going to come after you?
All I have to say about that is it's a company named Cerberus. They're tied in with a lot of different companies. In fact, they own a ton of companies and they actually have a facility. I'm trying to remember what company it was. One of their little companies they're the parent company. But they're like an investment company. It's really what they do. But they are directly tied with all these companies, including, I'm sure most people have heard of this, but the LOL dolls, the ones where you can take their clothes off, dunk them in cold water, and all of a sudden it's like, what the hell is this? They're tied in with that, but they're directly on Fort Hood's base, which to me, that screams there's an issue here. And this is
Fort
also
Hood in Killeen, Texas.
Yep.
Oh, did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not to mention the fact that, what was it? With Fort Hood, they've also got a really, really big human trafficking problem there. And David, if you were to look through his cell phone records, you will see that one of the numbers he had called, let me bring it up right now. Give me 1 second. Got to get that real quick. Phone number directory. What was it? Is Child Rescue Association of North America. He was actually in contact with. And all of a sudden he just kind of just drops off and there's no conversation. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were there at Fort Hood too? When I was married to 2002 to 2009. Oh, okay. I was there just before you, Derek. Well, I wasn't military. My husband at the time, he was stationed at Fort Hood, but we left there. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we left there maybe 92, maybe 93 or 94 is when we left there. Ah, that was forever ago.
Look, folks, you've got to trust the government because that's what I do.
Trust the science. The Fauci ouchie.
Right, Alexa? You're getting all of this? My FBI agent Steve, are you getting this too?
I know, right?
Oh, yours is Steve too?
Mm-hmm. I'm dressing as him for Halloween.
Oh.
Nice. I'm making sure to trick or treat at mine's house.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. And you tell them
Michael Myers.
Well, and not only that, since they have the federal jobs, they get the good money, so they can give you the full-size candy bars.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, really?
They'll get you a whole bag.
Right.
You hear that, Steve?
I like
I'm
Snickers.
coming to you. Milky Ways.
Right. The military will tell you first to not trust the government. That's true.
Oh, true. Except for the few in there that are saying they're totally willing to go and shoot the public, just if the military told them to do so.
I still remember it's like when Desert Shield first was going on, it turned into Desert Storm after Desert Shield. Mm-hmm. And my husband at the time, he was stationed over there. And when and I would just tell him, all of us wives back home were like going, send us sand. We just wanted sand from the desert, right? That's it, because it was a different country. We're like, send us sand. And so they would get the little hot sauce Tabasco bottles that they would get in their MREs, and they would clean those out and they would fill it with sand and then start to send them home. The military confiscated every single one of them. They not only took them out of the mail, they went and checked every guy's, all their stuff and anything that was going through the mail. And then when they came back, and there were 2 people that I know that somehow made it loose lips sink ships. Well, they were talking too much, and they let it be known that somehow their spouse was able to sneak it back for them. Well, the military, the police came and they tore apart their house until they found it and then confiscated the sand.
That's
So we
ridiculous.
weren't even allowed to have sand from the desert. So if that doesn't tell you stuff was going on, and then when they start coming back and they're talking about, I don't want to turn this into the whole Iraq thing, but we're talking about not trusting the government. You can't trust them because they're telling us back home everything's great, but they're over there, spraying stuff all over everybody to where they couldn't even bring sand back home.
Well, I mean, Agent Orange too. Look at that. I mean, they don't want us bringing that one back either.
Right?
Well, I mean, if you look at that, I mean, that's where I just point people go and look at you can look up so many different things in the CIA.gov reading, their little reading room they've got, So I mean, there's that too. You can see how corrupt it is they admit it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, we've been on here for an hour and 50 minutes, guys. Do you want to just do some last comments or whatever on either case, both cases?
I mean, I think we've pretty much covered it pretty well. You got anything, Sophia?
No. I mean, I was pretty much talking about everything in the beginning. So
true.
I'm just really tired.
Sorry. Derek says, as far as I see it, the people have come complacent in keeping the government in check, and we are losing ground as the days go by. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end this. We really are. So we will be doing more lives. I think this works really great. We will continue to cover the Kiely Rodni case and more when more of the reports come out. And again, I just don't think they're done with the investigation. So that is why I think they're denying the FOIAs, because it's still open. They're not going to give you anything until it's closed. So yeah, once it gets closed and we know it's closed for sure, then we'll put out the request and we can take it from there further. And as far as the David Crowley case goes, if anyone is new here, please watch my videos. There's a whole bunch there. And then you saw Greg Fernandez Jr., who was on here earlier. He has also a YouTube channel called The Gray Stage. And then also he has the Greg Fernandez Jr. Look him up. He does some fantastic videos. And we really, David Crowley was a war veteran. He was a young man with a dream. He was a writer. He was a composer. He had written a movie called The Gray State, which he had just made a deal with some producers in Hollywood. They were going to make it a series, I believe, on either TV or HBO. And then he and his family end up dead in the house, and he was blamed. It was called a murder-suicide, double murder-suicide. But the house is completely missing his blood, his daughter's blood, and only his wife's blood is there. There's no bullet. The bullet that killed David and Rania are missing. There's access on the computer after they were dead. There's a whole bunch to this case. So we would love any help or get you, even if you're watching the videos, it's helping, because it helps to show those the police are watching our videos and watching what we do. So when they see that, more people are paying attention, I think we can move this case along a little bit faster. We're trying to get them to reopen it, which Sophia had written a letter and had received a letter back from the city attorney of Apple Valley, Minnesota. And the writing on that leads you to believe that the case has been reopened. So
the first letter, not so much. The second letter, yes. Especially with the statutes that they used. So anyway, okay, you were on a roll. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just reading what was war said. Time to baptize Satan. Oh my gosh. Hey, we love you too, Derek, and I'm so glad to see you back. But please go back and watch our videos, especially the latest ones. The inconsistencies. I have done a video where I've compiled even more. It's over 60 now inconsistencies. Things like a blanket underneath Kamel, but on top of David. Kamel's head being covered, her arm being covered, an arm underneath her, but yet she's missing her face and both hands. So things like this. You'll find this case really, really interesting. But thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, William, for joining us.
Of
It was
course.
great to have you. And thank you, Sophia. And again, I've been yakking. So you guys want to say anything before we close?
Just want to thank everybody in the chat and all of those who were in the chat and then had to leave early. Hopefully you'll come back and you'll get to finish this off. And don't forget to click the like button if you've enjoyed our conversation tonight.
And subscribe.
And subscribe, please. So, and thank you, because the chat really did make this a great conversation.
It did, man. They were on fire. Thank you guys so much. Oh, bless you all. And thank you, Derek, again. So glad to see you back. And good to see you too, What Was War, and Deb and all you guys. It's great to see old faces. Well, old names. we don't really see your faces, but we see your names. William, do you have anything you want to say in closing?
No. You guys are good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.